are live on the air. Andy?
Excellent. Hello, and welcome to Business Uncomplicated Live. This is our first live. Business Uncomplicated is usually a podcast where we simplify the complex, we cut through the noise, and we bring practical, hands on advice from others who are in the trenches. I'm Andy Warble, and I'm joined by Rich Nazaro. We are the co founders of SaaS Business Advisors, and we are super excited today to be bringing a great conversation with three titans of the customer success world and to talk about AI and how that is really transforming the relationship. We're looking at AI as how it's transforming everything. And I think chief customer officers sit really at the intersection of not just the technology adoption, maybe that's the easy part, but the operational transformation and the human relationship. So super excited to get onto this conversation. Before we do, a couple of housekeeping things. Streaming through Riverside today. So if there's a lag, if anything looks off, give it a second. It'll probably stabilize. If it doesn't, if you can't hear us or something else, please send it through chat and we'll be monitoring that chat as well for any questions that come up and try and save some time at the end as well. The live stream is being recorded. We'll put it out through LinkedIn. And if we run into any technical glitches, which we will not, pause, reset, hang tight. We will come back. You will come back. We'll all be joined together. Finally, if you want deeper support or a consultation, feel free to ping me or Rich and we'll connect off with our details at the end of this.
Well, I'm excited to introduce this panel. I've known these guys for a lot of years. They are very successful at what they do and decades in customer success. And I think today they're going to have some great insights for us. So we're looking forward to it. So first, John DeRocher. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Calix, newly appointed position. Congratulations. We got Shane Hughes, who's the Head of Customer Success for LinkedIn, and Cesar Sanchez, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Tribble. So each of you, I'd love it if you guys could take a minute to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your background around customer success, and then we'll jump into it. So why don't we start with you, John?
Yeah, great. I'm thrilled to be here with all of my friends and colleagues and getting a chance to catch up. Probably an unlikely, journey on joining the customer success organization. I was a consultant, much like others on this call, and saw an opportunity to join a growing company. And then they had an idea what I was going to do, which was probably some account management. They weren't calling it customer success at the time, and kind of started with that job. And then it felt into really thinking about customer success and really bringing in different competencies. So I've been at it ever since. So almost 20 plus years.
Nice. Shane?
Hey, thanks, Rich. Great to be here, especially with this group of folks. The common theme for me throughout my career has always been about how do you help customers achieve their business objectives through technology. And like John did that as a consultant for a number of years. And then this thing called customer success came around. It really fit that description pretty well. And it was actually John who convinced me that this is something that I should go do. That was, 14, 15 years ago now at this point. And it's a theme that continues to resonate with me. Technology is relatively easy. People are hard, and the ability to combine those things together to help a customer be successful continues to motivate me.
No. It's a common theme, John convincing us to do stuff.
I like how Shane described that, though, way better than I did. This is why it's good. You hire people that are smarter than you that tell you how things should be done.
Right. Cesar, you want to go?
Yeah, that's been my MO. It's just hiring people that are smarter. No, I walked into CS similarly, except John, it was Stacy St. Marie, right? Who used to, I think, be your chief of staff, and she was the one that pinged me. She's like, "Hey, you're from Accenture. Like, you'd be great at this thing called CS, right?" And she got me to join Salesforce early on, back when we were growing. So, that's kind of how I walked in. I then did the chief customer officer thing at Bridge, was a small startup, and we had a wonderful exit. The company still exists, and yeah, now I'm leading. I think it's a good transition. John, you and I were talking of like having being CS and being the glue and the catalyst across many different parts of the organization. Maybe make an interesting podcast itself to say, how do you transition from chief customer officer to COO? Which could be a podcast in itself because you touch so many parts of the organization. So,
Right.
yeah, now the CEO at Tribble. So thanks for having me. And
2026 is on its way, so we'll be sure to put you on the calendar for 2026.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. So let's jump into it. We have a couple of topics we want to get through, but let's just make this conversational. I don't want to force conversation. So the first one we want to talk about is the growth that we'll see, or projected growth that we'll see in the customer service market. Currently, now it's at about 12 billion. It's expected to grow to 47 billion in 2030. As AI accelerates, what is the one strategic priority in the organization that you guys are pursuing? So Shane, let's start with you, but I'd love all of you guys to kind of answer this question.
When you're asking about the one strategic priority that we're doing, we're talking about within the success organization
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
So I would say that ironically, I think the most important thing for us right now is to actually do a better job at adoption, right? Which is ironic because I think it is a core fundamental aspect of success. But I think over time, a lot of organizations moved a bit away from that focus. And as we think about an agentic future, we think about introducing new capabilities and technologies or consumption models and things. All of those are highly dependent on how well are your customers actually using the product. So it's a little bit of a go back to the fundamentals and ensure that we are helping our customers build the right programs to embed our technologies into their workflows and ultimately so that we get customers to use them uh,
Right.
on a regular basis.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, our challenge is a little bit different. Shane, you talked about kind of doing the grassroots adoption piece. Our success team is really helping a lot with business transformation. So our customers are trying to transform, and in order to get the most out of our products, it's more about the business strategy or the business execution. So if you think about it, we need to touch as many customers as we can in that capability, and given its high touch, we're looking about how do we save productivity. So every function that we do, so think about one of our old friends, Sam Acuff, is running our business intelligence team, right? And doing business insights. So for her to go do customer analysis, sentiment analysis, there's work that needs to be done. Well, she's found a way to take AI into something that would take 60 hours of analysis for her team to do and turn it into 6. So that capacity we created, guess how many more projects we can do? A lot more. So it's about finding time in everything that we do. What are the heavy, big, burdensome activities our people are doing that if we can find a way to make those easier, we can, first of all, go faster, do more engagements, but frankly, free up to do. There's probably a list of a mile long of things we want to do that we just don't have time to do today. So that's what really we're focused on, is looking for those big opportunities to reduce effort.
Yeah,
Caesar?
that's a great point. I mean, I think I'm in the middle of both of that. I think like for what we do here at Tribble, right? We could do it all, right? It's like a platform, but really we hone down into what the business problems are trying to have, or and then from that figure out like with our customers, like what are those atomic units of time that we give you back from a productivity standpoint. I think the flavor that we add is because our CSMs and our customer facing go-to-market folks have all been in these go-to-market roles and been in CS and have been at Salesforce or, in the go-to-market space, is that we know the rigmarole of the job, and we can go, did you know this works? Did you know this works? Did you know this works? And all of a sudden now that adoption that, Shane's telling us about, right, kind of grows like wildfire. And then it's the other job, like maybe Sam's doing, to say, hey, did you know that 300 people in your organization are doing this task and have gotten this amount of time back? And it's really, really interesting to see that when you have high adopting customers getting a lot of value.
Right.
Yeah, and Rich, when I answered adoption, I was thinking about it from the customer lens. It's like, what are we doing with our customers to try to help make sure that they're using the product? When we think about internally and the application of AI, I think there's 2 key categories for us. The first is productivity and prescription. How do we get productivity gains? How do we help deliver prescriptive recommendations, and really focused on the 45% of our customer engagements that are focused on like prep, research, and content. And this is really a lot about augmenting or improving the existing workflows. It's not about
Right.
reinventing them yet. So that's kind of one key category. Then the second for us is intelligence. We're using things like Gong data signals to go to product and say, this is the voice of the customer. Here are thousands of calls that reinforce the top 10 pain points, customer health scores, and machine learning. And I don't know that I've seen the benefit there yet, but it's
Right.
early. on that piece, and then really using data signals to identify which accounts do we need to engage with and what recommendations we should deliver to those accounts.
Yeah, it's funny. I like how you use the word yet, but you're not there yet. Data is an interesting topic, right? Because I mean, this is something that CS organizations have struggled with traditionally all the time. I mean, at Salesforce, we were building the health score, right? Harak and his team were going to build the health score that was going to tell us everything. And, as we're working with other clients, they're doing similar things. And then it's going to tie to a playbook. And this playbook is going to be, the thing that connects all the customers. And then we have to segment the customers, and digital customers are just going to get this on-demand service, right? But this isn't a new concept, right? I mean, we've been talking about this stuff for years. How do you guys think that AI is going to help you access that data better than Power BI had, Snowflake did, go down the list of
I mean, my point of view is it's capability in being able to pull from multiple sources is better than what humans can do on their own. We still have a swivel chair problem. We still have 15 different systems that an individual needs to look at. The hope is that AI agents, AI capabilities can distill and bring that information together. And if they can do that, do you really need a playbook, or can it take the next step to prescribe what should be done? And if it can do that, do you even need the CSM to go and deliver that to the customer? Or can that all be delivered to the customer? So the idea of serving up, identifying what the information is that's needed based on data signals and serving that up may be core capabilities that initially are delivered or served up by AI, and maybe the human is helping that. But eventually, if you're just an information provider, the AI should be able to do those things. And I think that ultimately then shifts a bit of the focus and importance of the CSM role.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Shane,
something.
I'm going to ask you a question.
You go, Caesar. You go.
Before I go, Shane, I'm gonna challenge you here a bit. This is interesting. Would you make a multi-million-dollar decision based on something that comes over not from a human, but maybe it's coming over from AI? Like, it's AI or it's a presentation.
Okay, well, I think here is where you have crossed the line between where the humans should get involved, right?
Dude, you're taking a question I've got. Come on.
I'm sorry, but it was
No, go. I want to hear the answer.
No, I think we should come back to this because I don't think we're seeing the end of the CSM, to be clear. I think, though, what you just described was, how do I help articulate the real value of what the solution delivers, and how is it helping you accomplish your business objectives? I don't think that is the same as just providing information. I think that's about knowing your customer, knowing what's important to them, and how do you marry up the technology capabilities to help them accomplish that. I don't see that being replaced by any agentic technology. And I think that's what the CSM of the future really needs to be good at.
I agree.
So I'm going to say something even more controversial.
Yeah, John.
So if you think about this, what is the role of the CSM in these organizations? It's to eliminate friction. Clearly, if your problem was really if your product was really intuitive, it's frictionless. People know how to use it. It does what it needs to do. And so you guys remember this. I would always argue that should success sit in product?
Mm-hmm.
Because if product owned this and they saw how many resources were against it, they may be more interested in saying, how do I solve that in a product? I have a partner at Calix on the partner side that is all about reducing friction. And so I would argue, if we're doing a bunch of analysis and things and we have access to that data, why isn't that happening in the product and serving up the recommendation, the action,
Right.
or the automation into a human? Because on this point, as everybody gets comfortable with AI can deliver, there's going to be human in the loop. Okay, let's be clear. There'll be a human in the loop. And by the way, after the human hits yes, do that action 8,000 times, that human will say, I don't know why I'm sitting here in front of this I hit yes every time, right? This is silly. Why am I doing this? And then we would say, time to eliminate the human. We don't need it. There'll be another one that we want to validate first. So I do think that if we do this right, we can build some of this into the products that we offer our customers. And then there's going to be a whole other layer that our CSMs will take responsibility for and play. I just think I don't think it's like the extinction, maybe the extinction of the type of work we do, but not the role itself.
The jobs to be done just evolve, right?
As they always have.
Exactly.
Right. And so there are going to be unnecessary tasks that we just don't need to do anymore. So I
And
gotcha.
this idea of essentially building success into the product or making the product frictionless is absolutely the right way to think about it. Now, what I find, and I love you guys' take on this, is what I find is that incorporating into the product success type motions and things are often an afterthought of product because what they're chasing is the next shiny object. And right now they're chasing what's the AI capability that I can monetize, right? That's the next great thing. And so as a CS leader, I'm constantly asking for basic things that are causing customers friction. Like John, that like you're spot on with that. Like lots of friction points out there, but
Right.
I don't see a lot of product capacity put to helping with that. It's the right idea, but I certainly see constraints there. John, you're probably more able to move that with kind of the size and where you're at from a role company perspective. But what are you guys seeing?
So Caesar, as a company delivering AI solutions, what's your take?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, I at my last gig and even here, we've success. I own the product for a moment over at Bridge, and it did make sense, right? In terms of we were closest to the customer post sale. We didn't walk away. We were there, and now we sort of knew what to build. I think a bit different here from an AI. I'm an AI company, right? We're just as close, if not closer, to the product. And I loved what you said, John, in that just living and breathing. Success has traditionally been that gray or that glue across. If you have bad support, we're support. If you have a bad product, you're that bad product. If you have bad sales folks, right, that just do bad deals, you're now that person too, right? So you're kind of this great thing. But I mean, imagine having a product leader, right, that owns support tickets, right? Like, and not that CS is support, but like that's huge, right? Like, yeah, you're going to build better products. You're going to do things that work. And maybe Shane, you're not chasing the shiny new object, right? You're making what you have stronger. And then you're just making more strategic bets on those shiny new things when it makes sense. But yeah, I love that take.
Yeah, I mean, the customer success world has been made up by a lot of the hero complex, right? The people who go that extra mile, to your point, Caesar, who like jump into the burning building because sales sold the wrong thing, product didn't deliver, go down the laundry list of things, right? And traditionally, CS has been at the bottom of the funnel, fixing those issues, right? And trying to change it. And it's the day-to-day has always interrupted that future state that you guys are talking about now, right?
I'm going to defend sales. They never sell the wrong product. They sell the products they have available to sell. That's their job.
Fair.
And the ones are incentivized to sell. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's
I
the
mean, it's
reality
like
then.
they're doing their
Yeah,
job,
fair,
and they
fair.
do it really well. I
Absolutely.
mean, and there's ramifications to how well they do it when it's misaligned. But that is not a sales problem. That's a company problem, in my view, right?
Yeah,
And it
agreed.
goes back to that discussion about process, right? We've been investigating now. The good news about where I am is we only win if the customer wins. So as they sell these products to their subscribers, we get a cut, but we don't get paid until they sell the subscribers. So we're totally aligned with that. Now the sales guy has to sell them the initial offer to get access to that. But what we find is that we go look and we're like, we had some misalignment issues or expectation issues. If we knew those earlier, we could have gone
Right.
faster. And it's really
Right.
about thinking about how do I, reduce friction by moving every question left. It's like, this, do you guys talk about pre and post sales? I banned that terminology from my company because that institutes a handoff. A process doesn't have a pre and post. It is a process. And if it's aligned, you think about that, they sold the wrong product because no one was there to tell them about the ramifications about the things that needed to happen. And do we want to have that discussion during the sales cycle so we can actually equip them to execute, right? So, I mean, it's not an AI discussion, but it's really a thinking about how you design the work, think about the work. And AI makes you think about this very differently than we have in the past.
But I would say, like, this is my biggest complaint in most companies. It's the silos that exist, right? So, Jack owns this work stream and he's off doing this. And, Sarah owns that work stream and she's off doing that. And they're not talking to each other. The strategy around planning or execution isn't one that's normally done with the executives in a room having a honest conversation about really what the goals and objectives are. And then on top of that, then you have IT who's trying to fix the mess, but then we have had customers who we've talked about earlier is They have hundreds of tools because they've allowed an organization like marketing to just go buy what marketing needs without a thought about, well, how does that interact with sales? How does that interact with renewals? How does that connect to the dots? And so part of that is from a leadership perspective, would you not think? And how they structure the organization and incentivize the executives to work together?
Without a doubt. I think that
Yeah,
is one of the most important things is if you go look at everybody's, KPIs, right? All those things, are those KPIs aligned? Because if the metrics that you're driving your leadership team are not aligned and not, you don't understand the relationship between them, I don't know how you can be. Because we
I
optimize for
agree.
whatever we're being judged on. Back when we talked about sales, sales is incentive to sell that. That's what they're going to sell, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Rich. In fact, I mentioned prior to the call this week, our organization combined our success and sales teams together in one org. So we no longer have a separate member and customer services group that had support and success in it. It's now all in the line of business. You can make both models work, but the reality
Right.
is when you have those two different models, you have two different sets of stakeholders that you are trying to satisfy, and it
Right.
creates friction, right? Again, coming right down to this theme of we're trying to do new things and we're trying to be more customer centric. The more friction points that we can remove externally and internally, the more effective I think we'll be.
Right.
And even if you think about the adoption of AI internally and how we use it to change the way we work, we're going to run into a lot of hurdles with silos, just the way you
Yeah.
described. The more I think you can minimize those silos and minimize friction points internally through org design, you're probably going to be able to move faster and more efficiently.
Yeah. And I agree. I also think there is a little bit of incentive around how those executives work together. And I'd be interested to see that change too. I was watching something with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about how they train the Navy SEALs. And it's like they look at performance and trust. And they said that, they want the guy who's high performance, high trust. That's who they want to lead. And he goes, and the people who are low performance, low trust, they don't want. He goes, but the people who are normally in charge in most organizations are the people who are high performing, low trust. And, everybody in the audience laughed. And then he said, but I can prove this. He goes, if you ask who the asshole is in the organization, everybody will point to the same person. That's that guy. He goes, and organizations do a horrible job at getting rid of that guy or that woman, the high performer, low trust people. And so it's just kind of a very basic way of looking at organizational structure. But it was funny to think that we've all seen those people who are amazing, but you don't want to work with them. So when we have that organizational structure and we're now transforming at the rate AI is supposed to transform the organizations, it does create more friction.
Look, transformation's hard, Rich. You know that. And
Super
it's
hard.
hard for many reasons, even if you have an aligned organization, right? And you guys all know our CEO. You guys worked with him before. And, I went to this company because there was high trust, right? It's very easy for me on all hands call. He was talking about giving feedback and, it's really encouraged. And I jumped in. There's like 1,000 people on the call. I said, "Oh, do you want your feedback now, Mike?" Right? Now he would have said yes. It was funny, right? But I think,
Right.
he's the kind of guy that would accept that feedback. And there's not many CEOs that would do that. So it's a pretty
Agreed.
special, and that's why I went there. But I think even in a trusting scenario, we have I would say, high trust leadership team that can call bullshit and, challenge each other in a way that's healthy and then walk away not angry with each other. There's still a lot to go on. Like we're trying to run a business,
Right.
right? We got $1 billion business to run. We've got transformation plans. It's hard to do all the things. And I think as good as your leadership team is, just the capacity to do that becomes difficult. And that's where, you call people like Rich to come in and help you do that, right, Rich?
Yeah. Yeah. Get contracts out to all of you.
Yeah.
No, great.
Caesar, I'm curious because you get to see across a lot of organizations. When you've got a high trust environment, like it's easy to get on board with the AI vision. What are you seeing across your clients in terms of getting the galvanizing factors around that AI vision? Is it little pockets or is there a difference? Do they go faster than the ones who have the big corporate AI vision? What's working or what sort of patterns are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the ones that I see that are accelerating their progress I don't want to say have all been organic. It's not that they don't have a vision, because we are seeing a lot of folks, they have a lot of, I think Rich said it, like there's a lot of AI tools. Before this call, we were talking about our LinkedIn inboxes, right? Like, right, of the tools that out there exist. The ones that have, I want to say like organically or have grassroots efforts have grown, but have figured it out, have been the ones have that trust to share what's working and what's not, and then replicate that. So I'll give you an example. We have a customer and their usage has gone through the roof, right? And so we're on a consumption based model, which is great, right? And it's almost similar, John. If you're using more of it, that means that you're likely getting value. You're not going to go back to something that's giving you what the term is like AI slop, right? It's just not giving you good things. But how they share those use cases, the organizations that are a bit more open and sharing and trusting that, and it has to be, with the leadership, probably from leadership down, are the ones that are replicating success, the ones that are getting a lot of productivity, a lot of value from these things, and are impacting their organizations much quicker than ones that have those silos. And now I think if you do AI right and you are, you know, orchestrating or connecting all these systems that are maybe have their own silo, and you're just asking the question, what are my customers? I think Shane, you mentioned it with Gong, like we have the same capabilities. What are our customers saying this week, this month, right? In the last 90 days, and where customers struggling, and handing that off to product and say, product, this is objective, right? We just went through all the calls. Here's where the top 10 issues are. Those are the ones that I feel are winning, and our customers are doing that. And now it's product, marketing, success, sale, right? All involved in that conversation. You're not going to have that conversation without success or sales. And product feeds that and gets that, and it's like they're the ones that are winning. I don't know if that was a
Do
long-winded answer,
you
but
do you Caesar? Because we see, I call it Aon bolt on. So I think of people like Salesforce, Workday. They have these big systems that they've built over years, 800 clouds, different systems, custom code that people created, and now you have Agentforce put on top of it. Whereas your company is building natively AI up. Do you think that's an advantage when people are thinking about implementing software within customer success and taking into all the factors we've been discussing, that an AI native tool actually benefits them better than dealing with the technical debt that potentially exists with, and I know nobody wants to go against Salesforce or Workday, but give a reason
I
for Benioff to call.
yeah. I mean, I one is, I'll take it from a business context, right? From a business context, we were, born AI, and every data pipeline, everything that we've had actually passes through the LLM and the models, right? And so you're inherently, your cogs are already built in that's going to go and happen, right? So I don't have a current system that I built over 10 years that now I bolt on AI and I have all these AI costs and cogs as well, then I need to go and pass that on to somebody else, because shareholder value is really, really important. And so from a business context, that is one thing. I think from being born agentic and not having that other piece of legacy that you need to maintain gives you that advantage to move a lot quicker. And it
Right.
also depends on the people that you bring on that are using, the Vercels, the code, all the cursors and things that help you build better prototypes, faster prototypes, and get things out to the market much quicker. Like those engineers are also building, faster, better products at the speed
Right.
that we haven't seen before, right? Like I think our CEO built a call coach recorder in like 2 weeks, built on our technology, because he's able to kind of continue on and leverage. And it was amazing to see. And just show up on a weekend call, and he's like, yeah, look what I have. I'm like, wait, what? So the speed of it is faster, because maybe we don't have the legacy. That's more business without having to be super controversial.
Right. And when Shane and John, when you guys are looking at your tool set, are you guys thinking the same thing? I mean, how are you guys approaching AI? I mean, you probably use Salesforce and you use Workday or Oracle or Snowflake. I mean, go down the list of enterprise tools that most companies have bought over the years. And now you're dealing with all these new players who are coming to you on LinkedIn and saying, hey, come look at my tool. What's your kind of
I
take on
mean,
it?
for me, I'm not even ready to answer that question, whether it's AI first, AI augmented, which real tools. John had made the point that I think you need to start with how do you leverage AI within your existing tools and workflow. So we're able to do that. But the reason that I don't think we could really get at the question that you're asking is because we need to first make sure the data foundations that any AI tool will leverage are sound. And we have a lot of work to do there still. I think the bigger you get as an organization, the more complex you get, the harder that is. We've also been doing a lot of replatforming of systems that has held us back. So right now, when we think about prepping for whatever future may come, data foundations is at the top of that list. And I'd almost take your question again when we are in a better place from a data standpoint.
Makes
Are
sense,
you
John.
are you not using AI to help with the data foundations? That's a question I guess maybe for John and Shane too.
When you're talking about extracting data, yes. That are you asking about using AI to help organize, clean up, put the data in the right place? I don't know the answer to that because I'm not close enough to the teams doing the data foundations work. But my general point of view is like I don't want to talk about the tools until I know that the underlying data is sound and where I want it. There's a lot of data that I don't have access to today in any form at the moment.
Yeah.
Here's my view. AI is only as good as the data it has access to. Like,
Right.
let's be clear. If it doesn't have access to it, it's not going to be very good. So that's why I go back to our data sits in our foundational applications: Workday, Salesforce, Oracle, Snowflake. Bringing in a separate solution means that you've got to figure out how do I grant access to all that data, right? And that's work. And so you can go do that. I'm not saying it's against it, but are you going to get the value for the amount of work? And that requires IT. So I would look and saying they should be in a superior position because they have context of the data. Think about that. I think, Salesforce's most important thing that they have is all this data. And they can think about it, even if it's metadata, and train the Salesforce to use it better. So sure, I could go out and get a point solution today, but is that going to evolve as fast as some of these other solutions? I don't know. Maybe.
But
I think we've done this before where your big application provider wasn't good at the beginning. Let's say Gong. Gong filled a need that Salesforce wasn't doing. And over time, Salesforce is going to go do that, right? Or cede that capability to that vendor, right? And saying that's the space they're playing in. But I think those are the decisions you want to do is before you invest too much. And because then you have like how many applications you're managing and the data you're
so
managing across them. I think that's the complexity of, right? And now the CIO reports to me. I care even more about this.
Right. But play
That-
devil's advocate, how does implementing AI within the specific tools not break it doesn't break down the silos. If I'm in marketing and let's say I use Marketo and your sales team is using Salesforce, and so now my AI insights are coming from Salesforce for sales, but for marketing from Marketo and for HR from Workday, then are you not consistently driving those silos that we talked about before because we're not really equalizing the data to actually make people smarter?
In some cases, we've already solved those problems, recognizing that, like you said, those are not new. If there's a process
No,
that
not
needs to,
new.
they're not new. So if there's a process that need to be aligned, shame on you for waiting for AI to show up to tell you you had a problem.
Come on, it's easier that way. It's their problem, not mine.
No, but I mean, I think this goes back to saying the most important thing when you think about AI is what is your process and what do what's your end-to-end process? What's your whole thing? I mean, I was telling you guys about the presentation I made at our user conference and about our own kind of journey that we went on. And we came to the realization that we have three really important processes in our company that need to make sure that they're fully integrated across all groups. The first one is our product lifecycle. And we had something called AIM, and it was very good, very, very mature. Why? Because every group department is represented in that process. And there's a RACI and everybody knows, and the data is all central. Guess what? If you want to add AI to that, it becomes very easy. Why? Because it's already aligned to your point. If you
Right.
don't do that today, then AI is just shining a spotlight on problems you already had for a long time that you now have to determine how will I solve these? Will I introduce more technology to solve it? Because that might be faster. I don't know.
So, I mean, there is this notion out there that CEOs are driving this discussion. Like every CEO is like, we got to be AI, and AI wall to wall. And whether it's true or not, it's kind of, one of those folklore things that have been out there. Do you guys believe that messaging is probably causing unnecessary panic or chaos within organizations because they're trying to reach some utopia where John, you're saying it's probably a lot more simpler than you're making it. And you guys are spinning your wheels on this maybe enterprise view when you could get tons of benefits from doing something right now today with what you have.
It's
You know
a
what I'm
classic FOMO, right? It's a classic fear of missing out. And yes, there's
Right.
a tremendous amount of
Yes.
chaos and disruption coming from, as you put it, Rich, I think the assholes at the top that are.
Real moment, Rich. Welcome.
Right. That's the social media clip. Thank you.
It is.
But I think it's a fair point. The AI is really putting us in at an interesting inflection point where we say, okay, but have we, is our data, like our foundation sound? Is our data sound? Is our process sound? And it is kind of interesting that, I think that a lot of our clients are, they're dipping their toes in this and all of a sudden they're like, we got to take care of the basics. Sorry, Caesar, because others are probably doing the same thing. And they're like, dude, I can't buy yet. I got to take care of the basics. But to your
we
point,
see that.
get
We see
the
that.
data cleaned up. We can help you clean up the data. Fair.
Look, I
Yeah,
think
it's
there's
not
a
a
there's a piece here that when a CEO says, "Hey, I want everybody to think about AI," I think there's a piece that the message should be around what I would say is AI literacy or fluency.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should understand it. Okay. And the only way you understand something if you actually play with it, try it. And so, with us, it was like, hey, I expect everybody to be taking a course. I expecting everybody to get involved. Like, let's raise the intelligence level of what this is and what's possible. Because if you understand some of this, then you probably can make better decisions because you're all kind of like doing that. And the experiment, you can experiment. There's a lot of experimentation, and you can learn a lot from the experimentation at the department level and get some quick wins, right? But that's not transformation. That's quick wins. And I think there's value in that. And so I think it's like, does your strategy, laid out that I want to create some fluency, a common understanding across my organization, bring everybody to at least a competency level of knowing what it is, what the terminology is. Are there quick wins we can do without buying new tools and things that that require new investments and new integrations? And then third is, what is the transformation that's possible? And I think you have to kind of think of it at a multiple step level, in my view.
Yeah. I mean,
Look,
we talk about it in our company around maturity, right? When we talk to clients, it's about what's your AI maturity and how are you going to start, right? And for most people, it's with experimentation. To your point, John, it's like, hey, just try it out. Let me know what you think. Like, is it working? But when you get to the transformational level, which for most companies, it's a big word that sometimes or often isn't executed well. Do you guys think that AI needs to have its own champion that's looking across departments, almost chief AI officer to to like add another name to the C-level suite? Or do you think it's the responsibility of each individual group? We interviewed a guy who wrote this book, AI and the Octopus Organization, who said, octopuses have independent tentacles, with each have an own brain, and these should be acting autonomously. So CS should be running with theirs, and marketing should be running with theirs. As both John and Caesar, you guys are chief operating officers. How would you look at that? Do you guys think that's the true, or do you think? I think John, you said you have an enterprise view of AI, not a decentralized view of AI. And I don't know if there's a
We
right or
actually
wrong
have
answer in
both.
there from your
We
guys.
have, we have
Okay.
both. But I would say this, like, be careful. I think there's a room for a role, but I think it depends on what that role is for this, because AI is a technology. It's not a strategy. And if you're, you got to say, what is your strategy? What are you trying to solve? What are you trying to do? Okay. And I think we have independent teams doing things, but there is an AI steering committee that governs and looks for agents and workflows that we're creating and saying, okay, great, we're going to create a library of those that other groups and standardize so that we're not recreating the same thing 7 times for 7 different organizations.
Right.
Right. So there is an AI steering committee that we put in place to actually go and work on that. But that doesn't replace having a strategy about saying, hey, I want to do transformation. And that
Right.
necessarily isn't an AI person. That's a business executive, in my view, right? Somebody, whether
Totally
it's a
agree.
CEO or they give it to COO, whoever they give it to. But in my mind, you can do both of those things, but you have to be deliberate and understanding that you are doing both those things, or your strategy says, nope, we're going to do tactical things because we can get a lot of gains. We don't need to do transformation, or we don't have the capacity to do
Right.
transformation.
Yeah, it
technology is
depends
an
on the stage.
enabler.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is an enabler to accomplish your business objectives. And AI is the latest in that, and arguably it could be the most disruptive in our lifetimes. However, it's fundamentally not all that different than what was your client server strategy, what was your internet strategy, what was your mobile strategy, what was your social
Yeah.
strategy, right? And this is the
As a
latest in
cloud.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do not lose sight that this is a technology to help achieve a business objective. What's the business objectives that you are trying to achieve, and how do you leverage, in this case, the boardrooms are asking, how do you leverage AI to become more efficient and accomplish that? The thing that's fundamentally different, that at least feels very different about AI, is the pace at which it's moving. Like
Mm,
each of these different technologies that I mentioned feel like they've been moving a little bit faster than the previous one. And AI in particular seems to be moving very quickly and is going to create that, I think, fear of missing out
Shane,
mindset.
I'm curious. John touched on it, but what are you guys doing in your organization to upskill people? Because again, we've talked about like the
yeah.
role of the CSM is changing very, very rapidly. But what are you guys doing in terms of like practical upskilling that people are experimenting at a mass scale, not just onesie
Yeah.
twosie groups?
So we are putting in place formal education. Here's what you should go do and understand. We've created AI councils to encourage innovation internally. What we haven't done, and this is intentional, like what I haven't done yet is been really clear around this is exactly what we're going to do with AI to improve our workflows. Because I feel like we are still in a you need to get educated, you need to get comfortable, you need to experiment. And so, like, the
Right.
idea of even having somebody in charge, I think that can help you move forward once you have allowed for some time for the teams to innovate, experiment, and understand what is going to work for them. Now, the downside to that is I may end up with 50 different agents in the team, right, and create a lot of confusion. But I'm
Right.
almost encouraging that to happen a bit before we then think about putting somebody in charge to really rein those things together and then help us operationalize and scale.
Yeah. And I think that quickness is the part that is most
Right.
astounding to me. I think, Rich, you were working on a client and like 6 months later, everything was completely obsolete. And that's just
Right.
shocking.
Right.
But it's
Right.
necessary to get to the next phase too.
Yeah. We touched upon this earlier, and kind of in this vein of training and people experimenting and this whole idea of human in the loop, human out of the loop, right? So where do you guys kind of stand on AI taking every job and replacing it? And what are the kind of non-negotiables? What do you think the things are that humans will always need to do within, customer success? What are the things that you guys are saying? It doesn't matter how advanced technology gets. Like humans can't be replaced in this point, in this world of this phase or whatever. What do you guys think? Or you guys
Well,
just
I
think
asked,
humans can be replaced and the robots are coming and we just should get
And
a
we're all going to
nice.
go to a 3-day work week. It's perfect.
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
great. No, I mean, I asked a question earlier to Shane, but I mean, I would, as an AI company that is taking like helping customers, right, be more productive, right? Taking what used to have 5 people do the work. I have customers that like I'm 8 times more productive than I used to be. That, again, right, focused on like the RFP side of the product and agent that we have. In that sense, yeah, you don't need as many folks, right? And it's we used to have a bunch of EAs. I know Shane and John do. I still pick up my own phone emails and phone calls, but no, we used to have a bunch of EAs, right? Because people used to have to call and say, when's John available? When's Shane available? Right.
Yeah.
And now we have this thing and this is inner company. Now we have this thing that has a calendar that shows me when my availability is. Right. And so where did all those EAs go? Right. They went into, right, not just picking up the phone and figuring out a calendar. They are doing things that are much better for the organization. Right. People are now impacting organizations in a positive way and learning more and more. I think we're going to get to that point where we're not thinking about it. The humans in the loops are going to be, using AI. I think the people using AI to do their job better, right, are going to be the ones that are maybe not the assholes that stay in the organization, but move up, right? We can keep in that, but I think that's like a really, really good part. And I go back to Shane and maybe we have that conversation of like, at what point won't you trust the human? Like that you need that human to look you in the eye and help you make that decision.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that trust factor is something that is a innately human character. Doesn't mean you can't trust your chat GPT, but you can't always. I'll come back to something I said earlier, which is I think anything that is about just providing information, Caesar, even the
Mhm.
example you provided there, which is John's calendar availability is just information.
Yeah.
Those are things that as tasks will likely go away. And if you eliminate enough of those, yes, some roles will consolidate, et cetera. But the EA example is probably a good one. It's like, it's not so much about what my calendar availability is that EA is now essentially screening and prioritizing what it is that I go and do. Am I the right person to be involved in this given meeting? That's not easily, and AI isn't going to replace that. That EA is actually evolved to provide a higher level of value and service to me. Now, those human skills, especially when you think about customer success around, great, you don't need to be in the position to provide information anymore. You've got agents that will help you serve that up and will even do that for you. But we're still dealing with humans here, and trust is important, and persuasion is important, right? And relationship development is important, and selling is important because, for those folks that don't think success managers sell, I would argue they sell every single day. Like, every single day, it's like, here's why you bought this. Here's why it's going to help you, et cetera. No, those type of skills don't go away. But we certainly could see consolidation of roles over time.
Shane hit the word I was looking for. If there's a word that I would say that AI won't replace, is trust. It's
Yeah.
relationship building. It's where human interface. I was actually going back through all my LinkedIn posts this year and seeing what were the most popular posts. You know what they were about? They were about relationship building. They were about
Yeah.
celebrating someone's success. They were about human interaction. And I think that regardless of how great automation is, and if you think about all these movies that space age and you talk to somebody that we didn't think were ever going to be possible, are really possible now, right?
Right.
The human interaction of understanding someone's personal motivation, what they're trying to accomplish, is very hard to be replaced. I mean, if
Uh-huh.
somebody said, John, I have a product, you're going to talk into this device and tell it all your wants and needs. I'm like, that's just strange, right? Maybe someday, but not today. But we do business with people that we respect, with people we trust, and we've gotten to know. Like, why are we all on this call together? Because we all know each
Right.
other. We've known each other for a long time. We trust each other, and we're like, great opportunity. We could have done this call by just having AI go through all of our posts and thoughts and just put it together and just replaced us all. But
True.
people don't want to see that, right?
No enjoyment and no assholes in that conversation.
No.
I have a chat
Okay.
GPT bot that I just trained it all on John's posts from LinkedIn, so I can
There
get
you
to
go.
talk to John at any John GPT.
We're going to move to bold predictions. We're coming to the end of the year. John has his festive wreaths outside of his window that remind us what the season is. Shane has snow. Caesar is dreaming. I'm dreaming about the palm trees where you are.
I
um,
got I
okay,
got my ugly
bold
sweater.
Yeah,
predictions.
I got
right.
that
Excellent.
too.
We got the
You
ugly
know,
Christmas sweater
that's
ready to
right.
go.
Ready.
Friday afternoon. Let's go. John, what percentage of customer interactions will be AI first by 2028?
By 2028, I'd say the 30 to 40% that should be today. Like, let's put it this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, but by the way, like, think about how many like I hate having to call someplace to talk to people on something I could do online or in a chat. In fact, I have younger employees that come in will not interact with a company that doesn't have an online ability to go buy, like, review the product, look at the product, buy the product, right? So I think things like that, we just want more and more automation and AI, distributed to it. And I think, by the way, a lot of the things we're talking about have the capability today that just have been poorly executed or too easy, they're too much friction. And so I think those low hanging fruit, people will be thrilled when AI steps in and takes that role.
Nice. Shane, you talked about customer success manager. Will it still be a job title in 10 years? And if not, what do we think replaces it?
Yeah, so I don't think the function is going away, but John made a comment like earlier that when we think back 20 years ago, there were account managers, and account managers managed the relationships and ensured that people were successful. And then we had SaaS and we created the customer success role. And so I'm going to be bold and say 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, what we're going to end up with is a customer success account manager. And we already see that today. We see these CSAM roles happening today. Just essentially the merging together of those two things, I think, is where we begin to evolve into the future. So I don't think it goes away. I think it up levels, it upskills, it evolves a bit, and it ends up being called more of a CSAM role.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Caesar, you're in the hot seat. What CS role will exist in 5 years that does not exist today?
Well, I think more and more AI companies are coming about and those things. We're kind of teetering that right now where, we call them forward deployed engineers, right? There's forward
Mhm.
deployed AMs, right? Account managers. I think, Shane, what you're saying is spot on, right? The function of having the human to help you, right, get value doesn't go away, right? And achieve success, I don't think goes away. Whatever you call it, I think it's still, that function is still going to exist. Old prediction wise, right? I think support is going to change. I think if you look at AI today, and we're at the forefront of, I have a question. UIs existed because I needed to guide you through, this thing to make a decision. BI analytics went through to show the data, right? I think in the future, right, I'm just going to present you the UI that you need to make the decision and go away at the moment. And
Hmm.
it's going to change every single decision, every single time, every single thing I need to do. The underlying data, right, may also change, but I think that UI, that UX. So how do you support that in the future? Because I don't have a UI, I'm just being presented what I need to be presented and go away, I think is going to change by these forward deployed engineers, by these forward deployed account managers, right? In showing you how to prompt better, how to ask the thing better, or configure the back end so that you're not even prompting, it's prompting you to say, here, John, you can choose A or you can choose B. And I think you should choose B. And here's why, right?
Right.
That's a red pill. That's
The
fine.
red. Well, listen, guys, we appreciate you guys taking the time on a Friday afternoon. I know we're standing between Shane and happy hour. This has been a really good conversation. There's, coming into this conversation, I thought it was going to be, yeah, AI is it. We're good. We're moving forward. You guys giving me a lot of hope that every role isn't going away tomorrow, that there is a slower roll to this AI journey for most customers that I think is, as they like to say, don't believe the media, right? Don't believe what you're hearing.
Don't believe the hype.
Right. But I think it's an interesting journey that you guys are each on individually. And of course, we want to continue talking to you guys about that in next year. And we'll circle back with you guys to figure out if your predictions come true. So 2028, we'll put it on the calendar now and figure out if John got to his 40% deflection rate. So, but I appreciate it, guys. And thank you for joining.
Great to see you
Thanks for
all.
having
Thanks
us.
so much for having
Thank
me
you very,
on.
very
Thanks.
much.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure. This is awesome.
Thanks, guys.